Rest in peace, our democracy. Even though you were asleep for last at least 2 decades, we're all gonna miss you. Now it was the final nail in your coffin. On the 2nd of July 2020, Russia's democracy can officially be declared dead. Since the 25th of June 2020 to the 1st of July 2020, the popular vote was held in Russia to amend the constitution. Current constitution of Russia was adopted in 1993 and was based on humanist and democratic principles such as freedom of speech, pluralism, and banning of censorship. It already has been amended several times, such as in 2012 to increase the presidential term from 4 years to 6 years. Before the amendment, presidential elections were held every 4 years, and now since 2012 they are held every 6 years. It was also amended in 2014 to register the annexion of Crimea and Sevastopol into Russia. But now it was not a single amendment. In 2020 it was a package of amendments that have changed multiple articles and virtually changed regime in Russia. It was, for me it was something like Star Wars Episode 3, because the amendments de facto and all these democratic principles and openly authorize state ideology and authoritarianism. Before, despite the current president have been in power for some decades, we still had some democratic decorations, some democratic facade, and now it's all gone. So what happened? The constitution is amended the most famous and most important amendment is which that nullifies presidential terms of the current president. According to the Russian constitution, one person cannot be president more than 2 terms. So if one term is 6 years, so one person can be president more than 12 years. For comparison, Franklin Delano Roosevelt was the president of the United States for 12 years, and his ruling was the longest in American history. He died in office in 1945. The current president was first elected in 2000 and was in office from 2000 to 2008, and then was elected again in 2012. And the new amendment says that, however, these restrictions, this restriction remains no more than 2 terms, but presidential terms of the which current president has served before the amendment was adopted don't count. So virtually the current term is a 0 term, which means that the current president can now remain in office until 2036. So he's going to stay in office for 7 years more than Stalin and 2 years more than Ekaterina the Great, and for 1 year less than Ivan the Terrible. As we know, in democratic countries, in liberal democracies, and in civilized countries, not only in the West, but in South Korea and in Japan, heads of state change regularly. But in our case, that's not going to happen. But what is even more interesting, that even after the president leaves office, it still maintains he still maintains immunity from criminal prosecutions, and he remains senator for life. So even if the current president will be still alive in 2036, which I doubt, he will still have immunity and become a senator of Russia. And it turns our country into big North Korea. In North Korea, the situation is even funnier. Kim Il-sung was in power since 1948. He was declared president in 1973. He died in office in 1994. Then in 1998 he was declared eternal president. So even though he is dead right now, he is still the eternal president of the People's Democratic Republic of Korea. So it is kind of cult in North Korea. But returning to Russia, during the agitation, many people from the governmental-owned media said that the authority of the current president is huge and Russia can't do without him, which is also a cult of personality. So the last barrier which separated current Russia from totalitarianism doesn't exist now. But you thought that was all? No, that's not all. Other amendments also said that president should maintain peace and agreement in society, which I don't know what it means, but it might be used to suppress dissent and opposition, which is also a dangerous path, a slippery slope. Considering that the United Russia members of parliament suggested a new law which would outlaw every political party which questions the authority of the state, and it can apply to virtually every oppositional party, and the authors of this law openly admit that this law primarily targets liberal parties. It's very dangerous. But let's return to Constitution. Other amendments to Constitution also include mention that Russia is the successor of the USSR, mention that Russia respects people who died defending the homeland. Probably the victory in the World War II is implied, and preserve the historical truth, which is also dangerous because it politicizes history. This amendment can easily make the work of historians in Russia even more dangerous because government will dictate them what to say and what to write. Government is trying to monopolize history, and particularly the Soviet history of Stalin purges and the World War II. The new constitution also maintains that calls to alter the borders of Russia are not permitted. So it's also dangerous because now everyone who questions the territorial status of Crimea or Kurilas can be prosecuted. The new constitution also states that the government will protect marriage as a union between a man and a woman, those banning same-sex marriages. But I can't see a point in it because same-sex marriages already aren't allowed in Russia. Moreover, Russia has a law prohibiting promotion of homosexuality among promotion of non-traditional sexual relationships among minors, and I've already said about it in previous videos. Also, excuse me, new constitution has a provision which says that we maintain faith in God, but the other provision which remains from the old constitution said that Russia is a secular state, church is separated from state, and school from church. So Russia has no state church or state-sanctioned religion. The new amendment, however, does not specify what God is implied, so it's not explicitly Christian God. So no religion which worship the deity, Christianity, Islam or Judaism will be discriminated against. But I'm worried about other religions such as Buddhism doesn't have any gods, and agnostics and atheists don't worship any deities at all. To be honest, I will say that constitutional references to God are quite common in the constitutions of countries around the world, not only Middle East Muslim countries, but also European countries such as Ukraine, Hungary, Greece, Ireland, Australia and Canada have all mentioned references to God. And Constitution of Norway says that our heritage, our values remain from our humanist and Christian heritage. But it's different because countries such as Norway, Ireland or Greece have official religion. They have established church. They are officially Christian nations, while Russia is a secular nation, and to be honest, the majority of the population isn't religious. And the other difference is that even those secular countries which do mention God in their constitution, such as Hungary and Ukraine, they or Canada, they mention it only in preambles, and preamble really doesn't have any legal meaning. It's not legally binding. The Court of Ireland have explicitly prohibited authorities from taking preamble of the Constitution into account while making decisions. In Russia's case, reference to God isn't in preamble, it is in Constitution itself. And while the authorities have assured that we are not becoming a theocracy, that we remain a secular state, I still consider that it's dangerous. The clerics from Christianity and Islam alike, both Muslim clerics from Chechnya and Russian Orthodox Church have supported the amendment, but while they might not be affected, Buddhists and atheists, for example, can be affected, I fear. Also, contrary to popular belief, the United States Constitution doesn't make any reference to God. The only references to religion it makes is that no religious test shall be required to any public office under the United States, and that the United States Constitution was adopted in year of our Lord 1787. So no, contrary to your belief, United States is a secular nation, not a Christian nation. However, constitutions of all states and the territory of Puerto Rico have references to something supernatural, such as divine rule or supreme ruler of the universe in their constitutions. Some, such as Arkansas, Texas, and South Carolina, go even further to bar anyone except Protestants from holding any public office or being witness in the court in the state. But due to United States Supreme Court decision, these provisions can't be legally enforced. So to conclude, said amendments which were adopted a few days ago killed the spirit of the Constitution of 1993 and the last remains of democracy in Russia. And here I shall say goodbye to you, and we all shall say goodbye to Russian democracy and hello to a new dictatorship. And all this, I say goodbye to you. Like, subscribe, and comment. Say what you think.